Founding Fathers vested the executive power in a single president of the United States. What we have seen in the last 2 years is we have seen Democrats deliberately weaponizing the Department of Justice and our legal system to target their political opposition. It is not an accident that every indictment against President Trump was brought by a Democrat.
Okay, pause. Did you just hear that? Because if you weren't paying attention, rewind and listen again. That right there is Senator Ted Cruz making a real argument with real historical examples that you simply cannot wave away with a talking point. Before we watch the full video, let me tell you why this matters. A lot of people have been told that prosecuting a former president is just accountability, that it's normal, that it's justice. But Cruz just stopped that narrative cold by asking the simplest, most devastating question. If this was always possible, why has it never happened before? Over 200 years of American presidents, wars, scandals, decisions that shook the entire world. Not once was a sitting or former president criminally indicted. Until 2023. Until Donald Trump. Until 4 indictments, all from Democrat prosecutors, all dropping after Trump announced he was running again. You don't have to be a Trump supporter to find that timing suspicious. You just have to be honest. And that's what I appreciate about what Cruz is doing here. He's not just defending one man. He's defending a principle, that the Justice Department should never become a weapon pointed at the political opposition. The moment we allow that, we are no longer the America we think we are. Watch this with me. I have a lot of thoughts, and we're getting into all of it after the video. If you're new here, hit subscribe. Drop a comment below. Do you think these prosecutions crossed a line? Let's get into it.
Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The nub of the Democrats' argument today is that the concept of presidential immunity is somehow unprecedented, is somehow remarkable. That claim is utterly ahistorical and disconnected from the entire constitutional history of the Republic. General Mukasey, before 2023, how many times has the President of the United States been indicted?
None.
Before 2023, how many times has a former President of the United States been indicted?
None.
In the last 2 years, how many times has President Donald J. Trump been indicted?
4 times, I believe.
Now, many presidents of both parties have engaged in controversial actions, and yet none of them have been indicted. Let me ask you, General Mukasey, if a private citizen were to erect an internment camp and to forcibly kidnap American citizens, to single them out because of race, and to imprison them based on their race, would that private citizen be subject to criminal prosecution?
Would.
When President Franklin Delano Roosevelt did the exact same thing and erected Japanese internment camps, was FDR prosecuted?
He was not.
Let me ask you, similarly, if a private citizen were, say, to detonate a nuclear weapon over a city and kill over 140,000 people, and then if that private citizen a few days later detonated another nuclear bomb over another city and killed 75,000 people, could that private citizen be criminally prosecuted?
He would.
Was President Harry Truman prosecuted for detonating nuclear weapons over Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
He was not.
All right, how about this? If a private citizen launched a weaponized drone and killed a United States citizen, could that private citizen be criminally prosecuted?
He would.
Was President Barack Obama criminally prosecuted when he killed United States citizens using drones without notice and without due process?
He was not. Although, as far as due process is concerned, I believe the comment of my successor to that question was that Anwar al-Awlaki got, quote, all the process that was necessary.
Well, although I suspect he might disagree with that assessment were he able to present his case.
Right.
All right. Let's contrast that with the rules that govern other federal officials. You were a judge for 19 years. As a federal judge, did you have immunity from your official acts?
For my official act, yes.
Do federal prosecutors have immunity from their official acts?
They do.
Now, the distinction between official acts and personal acts is not a terribly shocking distinction. Under the decision of Trump versus United States, if any president walks onto the sidewalk and just shoots a citizen, is that president liable to be prosecuted?
He is.
How about this? If a president steals funds from his campaign, does that president face criminal liability?
He does.
How about this? If a president sexually assaults, let's say, an intern in the Oval Office, is the president subject to criminal prosecution for that?
He could be.
So that distinction, again, is not a shocking distinction. The Founding Fathers vested the executive power in a single president of the United States. What we have seen in the last 2 years is we have seen Democrats deliberately weaponizing the Department of Justice and our legal system to target their political opposition. It is not an accident that every indictment against President Trump was brought by a Democrat and was brought after he announced his campaign for President of the United States. Understand, the target of those indictments was not ultimately President Trump, it was the voters. It was prosecutors who were terrified that the voters would choose to re-elect President Trump. One of the great things about the United States is we're not a banana republic. Since 2000, the nation of Pakistan has had 6 former prime ministers prosecuted and convicted. Brazil has had 3 former presidents arrested and imprisoned. Last year, Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega arrested, charged, and imprisoned 40 political opponents. General Mukasey, you were Attorney General of the United States. Is it the proper role of the Department of Justice to prosecute and target the political opponents of whoever happens to be President of the United States?
It is most assuredly not.
Thank you.
Senator Bowman.
All right, now you've seen the whole thing. Let me break down why I think Cruz won that argument. Not emotionally, not politically, but logically. Start with the historical examples, because these are the backbone of everything Cruz said, and they are genuinely hard to argue against. Franklin Roosevelt forcibly removed over 100,000 Japanese Americans from their homes and locked them in internment camps based purely on their ethnicity. If a private citizen did that today, they would spend the rest of their life in federal prison. But Roosevelt? Never prosecuted. Not even threatened with prosecution. Cruz's point stands. Presidents have made enormous, even morally questionable decisions throughout history, and the understanding has always been that official acts of executive power occupy a different legal category. Then there's Harry Truman. 2 atomic bombs. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Over 200,000 lives. History still debates whether it was the right call, but Truman was never hauled into a courtroom. Because the constitutional framework recognizes that a president acting in an official capacity carries an authority that cannot be governed the same way we govern a private individual. The Barack Obama example hits differently because it's recent enough that people remember it. Anwar al-Awlaki was an American citizen, killed by a drone strike ordered by Obama without a trial, without due process, without a jury. Cruz even references the quote that al-Awlaki got all the process that was necessary. Whether you agree with that decision or not, Obama was not prosecuted, because it was treated as an official act of the executive. So why are we now pretending that presidential immunity over official acts is some radical, dangerous new idea? It isn't. Cruz is right to call that out. Here is the part that gets lost in all the noise. Cruz is not saying presidents are above the law. He was very clear. Under Trump versus United States, if a president shoots a random citizen on the street, criminal prosecution. Steals from their own campaign, criminal liability. Commits sexual assault, they can be prosecuted. Personal acts are not protected. The immunity only covers official acts, and that is the same immunity federal judges and federal prosecutors already enjoy. Cruz made that point cleanly, and I don't think the other side has a good answer to it. Now the bigger picture, because Cruz saved the most important point for last. He said the real target of these indictments was not Donald Trump. It was the voters. And I think that is exactly right. For indictments, all from Democrat prosecutors, all timed after Trump announced his candidacy. The message being sent, whether intentional or not, was, we will tie this man up in courtrooms and define him as a criminal before the voters even get a say. That is not justice. That is election interference wearing a legal costume. Cruz brought up Pakistan, Brazil, Nicaragua, countries where former leaders get arrested by whoever comes into power next. That is the road you go down when you decide it's acceptable to use the justice system against your political opposition. America has avoided that road for over 2 centuries, and the fact that we're even debating this right now should concern all of us, regardless of how you feel about Donald Trump personally. Cruz laid out a principled, historically grounded, legally coherent argument. You may disagree with his politics. You may not like the man. But on this specific point, that the Justice Department should never be weaponized against political opponents, and that presidential immunity for official acts is not a radical invention, Cruz made his case, and he made it well. Let me know in the comments where you stand. Was Cruz right, or did he miss something? If you found this useful, share it. These are conversations worth having. See you in the next one.